The Smith County Jane Doe, identified as Cindy Gina Crow. We begin here in Smith County, Texas, on October 1st, 1985. The Texas Department of Transportation had sent a crew out to mow along Interstate 20, close to the city of Tyler. It was here, about 75 feet away from the road, that they would discover remains. Upon further testing, they would determine they had been there for about a year to 14 months, and that she was definitely female and had passed around 1984. The clothes were not on her, they were discarded nearby, which is obviously a pretty big sign that something bad probably happened. Her hair had been secured in a ponytail, and it was either red, brown, or dark blonde. Forensic testing suggested that she was possibly of Polynesian or Indian descent. She had been wearing a yellow knit pullover shirt with a lace collar, and it had the phrase on it, Top Rail County Music, Dallas, Texas, with an armadillo on the front. She also had white shorts and gold butterfly earrings and a gold watch. It wasn't a lot to go on. Multiple leads through the past 38 years produced nothing concrete in order to identify her. They tried a forensic recreation, but still it led nowhere. It would finally come down to DNA, pairing the University of North Texas, where the DNA Doe Project, and they were able to determine that our Jane Doe was in fact Cindy Gina Crow. She was 27 when her life was taken, and she had one child. She was last known to be living in Arlington, Texas, which is about 120 miles or 193 kilometers from Tyler, Texas, where she was found. Cindy was known to frequently hitchhike, and it was pretty normal for a lot of people back in 1985, obviously, although it was probably more common in the 70s. One of the detectives commented that he always thought Ted Bundy or someone like him was responsible. Having the luxury of hindsight, we know now that a lot of serials were, in fact, picking women up off of the highway. And sadly, a lot of the perpetrators seemed to end up being truck drivers. That, of course, meant people were found in very different places. And at a time before the internet, it was a lot easier to get away without anyone noticing a pattern. We know now that Cindy wasn't reported missing, but before anyone judges, I want to point out that many family members have passed with time. Additionally, many of the jurisdictions, especially in busier places, would not have taken a police report. So we don't even honestly know if someone tried. And if she wasn't in regular contact, it's possible that's why it didn't happen. It didn't help that Cindy's family did not live in Texas at all. She traveled through multiple states but was drawn to Texas. She had married a man named Dwight P. Crow and given birth to a daughter in July of 1984. So in a case that took almost 4 decades, a daughter and a mother lived long enough to finally know what happened to Cindy. It was Cindy's mother and daughter who would provide the DNA that in the end identified her. The police are now re-examining her remains for possible clues to her COD. I suspect that means they're looking for DNA, so hopefully there is some on her clothing after all this time. I imagine the odds of that are pretty poor given she was outside for over a year. The Smith County Sheriff would say that her husband has passed. I get the feeling he's the prime suspect, but he doesn't specifically say that. And there was no proof Cindy had been hitchhiking when she went missing. It was just something she was known to do. If Dwight P. Crow was responsible, there's no justice to be had. If the time frames are correct from what I'm looking at, she had to have passed closer to the time she gave birth. She was married January of 1984 and had a daughter in July of 1984. She was found October 1st, 1985, with the belief she'd been there 14 months. It's a pretty tight time frame. And maybe that does point more to her husband. Because she was considered to be a little bit of a drifter, her family had no idea she'd even married or had a child. So there's a lot of questions, and it's all dependent on whether or not someone's able to come forward and help. This case would take 15 volunteers and one good DNA match that led them in the right direction. If you've done DNA kits, please consider uploading yours to GEDmatch and allowing the kit to be searched. In her case, her father was born in Italy, and her mother was of Hispanic descent, and so it made it a little bit harder. Cindy Gina Crow went unidentified for 38 years. Had she lived, she would be 65 years old today. Eddie Doe, Orlando, Florida. The man known as Eddie Doe was found on March 16, 1990, in Orlando, Florida, and this was in a wooded area behind Sewell's Plastics. It was an area at the time where the homeless would gather. Because his COD isn't listed, it's most likely that it's either not something they could determine or it was natural. It's believed he was in that area of the woods for 2 years before he was found. He was likely 20 to 40 when he passed. He wasn't tall, probably maybe 5'7", and this would be 170 centimeters. Assuming the 2-year postmortem interval is correct, this means he went missing around 1988. And it would mean his family is looking for a loved one who was most likely born between 1948 and 1968. If anyone thinks they know who he is, please call the number on the screen. Eddie Doe has gone unidentified for 34 years. The Chicago John Doe, 1989, Chicago, Illinois. This is the first time I set up a case to be covered and nearly wiped it all out because I was offended by something within the case. Once I get to it, you'll understand completely, but I don't want anyone to think I condone his tattoo. I try not to be judgmental, but I'm human, obviously, and this is one of those that was hard for me. I had to remind myself about the motto on this channel that everyone matters and everyone deserves to be buried with a name. And so this begins on January 25th, 1989. And it was then that a man was found in a building in Chicago, Illinois. The man was thought to be 25 to 35, and there's no COD listed, and that usually means no foul play was found. I suspect he was homeless and crashing there, and he perhaps succumbed to the elements, or there was some sort of medical emergency. He was white and around 5'9" or 175 centimeters. He weighed only 113 pounds or 51 kilograms, which is very, very underweight for his frame. Perhaps it was substances, or he was sick, or he just couldn't afford food. It's hard to say. It's just very sad. Many have a mental or physical ailment. I sometimes hear people around me talk about homelessness as if it's just a choice, and that is so oversimplifying it. But then this leads to the part about why I sort of switched how I felt a bit and almost didn't record it. In addition to having long brown hair and a goatee, he had 3 tattoos that might help identify him. I just realized too that if I even say what it's of, they will demonetize me. So I'm just going to describe it as the symbol used in Germany while a psycho with a distinctive mustache claims supremacy over a certain group of people. And this was the symbol on the back of his right forearm. It is noted that it was likely done by an amateur. It's possible that perhaps he was inside of a prison. It doesn't say that on here, but often the amateur tattoos come that way. There was also a leaping panther or leopard on his upper left arm and a rose on his left forearm. There are no photos of any tattoos that I found. So if he was truly 25 to 35, his family would be missing someone born from 1954 to 1964. If anyone knows who he may have been, please call the number on the screen. The Chicago John Doe, 1989, has gone unidentified for 35 years. Huge thanks for watching all the way to the end, and a big thanks to all of you who consistently like and comment on the videos. Whether you leave a full comment or an emoji, it makes a huge difference. So if you consistently watch my videos, maybe take a moment to subscribe. It's a huge push toward the videos being suggested to new people. The next goal is 20,000. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care of yourselves and each other.